Well, welcome back. This is part two of our midweek meditation for August 20th. We have been working on the Apostles' Creed for quite a few weeks now. There's actually 15 installments, and this week is installment number 14. We have been going through the Apostles' Creed phrase by phrase because it is a summary of some of the basic beliefs that we hold as Christians. And it helps to expand upon them a little bit rather than just recite the creed. It helps to try to dig in a little more deeply to understand what each of those phrases means. So today we're going to look at phrase number 14, the resurrection of the body. Here we go. Just like a delightful dessert or a spectacular fireworks grand finale, the Apostles' Creed saves the best for last, at least from the point of view of our own personal gain. Resurrection and eternal life affirm the sweet promise that we live forever. Death in this world marks merely the end of a chapter, not the end of the story. A brand new section is about to be written, and it begins with the resurrection. The whole idea of resurrection is rather recent in biblical thought. Now, remember, biblical thought goes back probably 3,500 years from where we are today, and the New Testament itself was written about 2,000 years ago. So, relative is recent is a relative term. But resurrection, when we read the Old Testament, we find very little indication about life after death. There is some. There's an acknowledgement or two that there's something beyond the grave, but it is not a standardized kind of doctrine. At best, souls go to a shadowy existence called Sheol. It is not heaven. It is not hell. It is just a very stifling, dull, dead place. The biblical writers imply it is clearly less desirable when compared to life on earth. This is where life is meant to be lived, right here, right now. Grab it, they say. Live it. This is so important. By the time of Jesus, however, things are beginning to change. Jews everywhere are debating the possibility of a general resurrection of the dead. Though traditional Jews, like the Sadducees, do not believe in it, there are others, like the Pharisees, who do. They feel in their hearts that a time will come when God will raise all persons from the dead, and the faithful will be received into paradise, and the reprobate consigned to hell. Think about Jesus' parable about the sheep and the goats, that the sheep are the ones who fed the hungry and gave drink to the thirsty and clothed the naked, and they are received into the kingdom, whereas the goats are those people who did not feed the hungry, did not give drink to the thirsty, did not clothe the naked, and they are excluded from the kingdom. Jesus preaches resurrection. And of course, we believe that he himself is resurrected on Easter Sunday, and that he appears numerous times as such over a period of some 40 days. His resurrection becomes the glue that holds all of his teachings together. It also becomes the cornerstone of the apostles' preaching, people like Peter and James and John and Andrew. Whenever Jesus is mentioned, so too is his resurrection. As Paul says in 1 Corinthians, but in fact Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have died. That's 1 Corinthians 15:20. Just like Jesus, we shall all be bodily raised from the dead. Now, some people wonder about that. Will we have the body we had at the moment of death, or will we have our body when it was younger and straighter and more appealing. If we're going to have a body for all eternity, we at least want it to be presentable. Well, Paul had some thoughts on that as well. Again, in 1 Corinthians, he observes that the physical body and the resurrected body are similar, but are also different in many respects. For instance, the resurrected body does not have, the resurrected body does have the appearance of the physical body. That is why Jesus is recognized by his friends after he leaves the tomb. But the resurrected body is not made of the same substance as the physical, which may explain why Jesus could suddenly appear and disappear in a closed room. It may also explain in some ways why people didn't quite recognize him at first. It may have kind of looked like him, but maybe not look like him. It's a different kind of appearance. As Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, again, 1 Corinthians 15, by the way, is a great chapter to learn about the resurrection. It's the most thorough treatment of the subject in the entire Bible. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. He says here, so it is with the resurrection of the dead. What is sown is perishable, but what is raised is imperishable. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a physical body, it is raised a spiritual body. If there is a physical body, there is also a spiritual body. So much of our lives are spent in the physical, but we also discover, some of us like myself, only later in life, how important the spiritual side of our lives is. So we kind of have two things going on in us. There's our physical existence that we all know so well of sight, touch, and sound, and all of that. But there's also the spiritual dimension of our lives, which, like the physical, needs to be taken care of and paid attention to and appreciated. The difference is between the physical and the spiritual. So the resurrection of the body is much more than like these emergency room resuscitations we hear about sometimes, people who are clinically dead but then are brought back. That's a resuscitation. Resurrection is different. It is the beginning of a whole new kind of existence. Well, this ends our discussion on the resurrection of the body, and next week we'll conclude our series on the Apostles' Creed with the last phrase, and the life everlasting. I believe in the life everlasting. So till then, take care and God bless. Bye.